given the fact that the Western nations are arming Ukraine and are now giving the green signal for Kiev to strike targets deep inside Russian territories, Russia said that it could now be open to arming probably even non-state actors who could attack Western nations with these Russian-given weapons. How do you read this statement by Vladimir Putin?
Look, I think we need to take it deadly serious, because you're talking about that Putin has really taken all that the West has given and the Ukraine has given for well over 2 years now. And he has thus far restrained himself to not strike outside of the borders of Ukraine against any of these sources. And, they've been saying within their own domestic sphere and to continue to have the support of its people, that this is an existential fight that Russia is waging against the entire West, against the NATO on its territory. With the West now escalating that above what it has been for the last 2+ years, and now saying that long-range weapons can be used in Russia proper. And there was also a couple of days ago, some of the Western newspapers released reports of a study that was showing how the U.S. Army would be able to put tens or hundreds of thousands of troops into Eastern Europe to potentially fight against Russia on the ground. At the same time, you're getting more and more reports of Western troops coming in as trainers and advisors, et cetera. I think that Russia's feeling like that there's a line is being crossed, and now then they are truly feeling existential. And I think that that's why he's saying all these things, and they probably mean it.
And also the fact that the United States again today has indicated that it does not want Ukraine to use American-made weapons to strike targets inside of Russia. Does the United States of America under Joe Biden have a clear policy on how it wants the Ukrainians to use their weapons in this war? Because one day we hear that Biden is okay to let the Ukrainians use American weapons inside of Russian territory, and today he says that it is not in American interest to do so.
Yeah, a lot of mixed messages coming out, and that's been, unfortunately, a hallmark of the Biden administration throughout this war. Things constantly change. There's so many that we had self-imposed red lines of things we wouldn't do, weapon systems we wouldn't give, and then they give them, and then it changes later. And now Biden said, the Politico reported last week that he had given secret approval for Ukraine to use some of the Western weapons north of Kharkiv. And then he says, well, it's kind of limited. But, the question is, does Ukraine really regard that as limited? Because everything else has fallen in time from pressure on the Biden administration. And I doubt that they're going to withhold this from, anywhere else that they may think it's useful. And they have definitely, the Ukraine side has definitely already launched very long-range strikes inside Russia all the time, really even before this. So I think that it'll just continue.
Right. Now, my final question to you, Daniel Davis, is does the United States of America and the Western allies of Ukraine, do they have a clear idea of what Russia's nuclear doctrine actually is? Because the Russians have said that if they feel their sovereignty comes under threat, then they could use the nuclear option. So how far can the Western nations actually push and probe Russia and still ensure that Russia does not cross the nuclear threshold?
Well, in direct answer to your question, absolutely. We know what their doctrine is. This is not the first time that Putin has declared it. It's been written down many times. That's why he said in his statement, go look at what's written down, because it's been out there for a long time. We've talked about it many times in the West. We know it. The problem is trying to see how close we can get to stay just on this side of the threshold. And one has to wonder, what is the value of trying to push right up to the potential point where the Russian side could feel threatened enough to use it? Because it is absolutely a no-win situation for everyone, for Russia, for Ukraine, for the United States, and the entire West. I don't know why we're even pushing up on this, because there's no value in trying to find out where that line is.